Welcome back, guys. Always good to see you. Today is the cross-examination of Caroline Ellison. So she's being questioned by Sam Bankman-Fried's lawyers, his defense team. So a couple of quick highlights. Reports this morning came out on the transcript released by the stenographers that were recording, they were writing down what the defense team and what the prosecution were talking about with the judge. And this was done in private, basically at the sidebar, where none of the witnesses, none of the reporters could basically hear what was happening. Therefore, when the transcripts came out, this became clear. So apparently Scam Sam was scoffing at Caroline Ellison yesterday while she was giving her testimony. So the prosecution went to the sidebar to complain to Judge Kaplan, because apparently, at least that's what the prosecution is claiming, that Sam laughed and he visibly was shaking his head. And according to Bloomberg, she was looking a lot more relaxed today. So, good for her. She's feeling confident in sharing her story. The Thai prostitute. Maybe that's why Sam was laughing. The whole thing just sounds so preposterous after all. $1 billion using IDs from prostitutes. Life of Scam Sam's never boring. He did say this getting exciting after all. So much so that the prosecutors thought this was having an effect on Caroline Ellison's body language, a visible effect on Caroline. Therefore, in a way, it could be seen as intimidation, as another way of controlling Caroline. Pretty interesting. With the prosecution claiming that this was a continuation, prior attempts to intimidate Caroline, leaking Caroline's private diaries, for example, to the New York Times, which essentially is what got him thrown in jail. So pretty interesting there, if he actually did this in court. Apparently Kaplan said and directed Sam's defense team, his lawyers, to tell him to stop. Not just that, but the judge said he himself is going to keep an eye out on Scam Sam. Apparently his defense lawyer was so insulted, calling this whole thing ridiculous, because Caroline couldn't even point him out in the courtroom, because of course he looked so different. So, I don't know. Who knows how accurate that is, given so much theater that happens. Another highlight being Caroline admitted that she had a bit of a raging rival jealousy against Medulo, where Medulo Capital was based in the Bahamas, and apparently there was a girl there named Lily Zhang who Bankman had dated while Caroline and Sam were on a split. So it does get a little juicy in that department. More of these silly relationship dramas. So stupid. But anyways, it's a key point for Sam's defense because if they make her look like a raging, jealous psycho, basically trying to outcompete another lover that Scam Sam was seeing. So it's a little interesting angle that Sam's defense team has taken. And speaking of looks, jealousy, dating, come on. I know some of you guys out there would still date the beautiful Caroline Ellison. Anyways, let's get into the cross-examination. Caroline is in the witness box now. She's reminded she's still under oath. Mark Cohen, that's Sam's defense lawyer, so I'll be using his name. He starts out by saying, let's talk about FTX _ fiat account, saying that it had about 200 sub-accounts. Caroline said she did not know, where Mark Cohen wanted a ballpark number. She said at least a dozen sub-accounts. To clarify, they said this was a customer account with FTX. A sub-account was still a customer account with FTX. Mark Cohen asking Caroline, once you were at Alameda, did you find that Sam was correct about some of the things he told you? And she said, yes, I did come to that view. Sam's lawyer asking her if she thought that Sam was ambitious and driven. Caroline said yes. Then he asked her if she herself was ambitious, answering that Sam actually encouraged her to be more ambitious. Mark Cohen said on the business risk side, he was willing to take more than you, which Ellison said yes. Now this gets a little interesting. Mark Cohen said you thought FTX was a bad idea, right? She said yes. She thought it was a bad idea, FTX. Then she's asked about Solana, what it was. She answers blockchain, and she's asked if she shared Sam's enthusiasm on Solana. She said no. Solana being a crypto coin. Now remember back then, it was riding extremely high. Went from like 10 cents to $250 or something around there. Everyone was all about it, and everyone lost a lot of money on that thing. More casino, funny money, of course. House always wins. Then she was asked if she and Sam had different ways of reacting to stress. She said yes. Then Mark Cohen brings up Sam's image, specifically his boho look, that bummy t-shirt and shorts look, with the lawyer being nice about it and saying Sam's style is different than yours. Caroline saying yes, with Ellison saying his styles had pros and cons. Okay, so then they move on to Alameda, with Cohen saying that she and Sam Trabucco both ran Alameda until 2020, with her saying that they both together handled the day-to-day business, with Mark Cohen asking, was Sam Bankman-Fried absent at Alameda for long periods of time? They're setting her up. She said yes, with Mark Cohen introducing some exhibits as evidence. Then she's asked what her opinion of Mr. Trabucco was, with Caroline saying she thought he was a good trader. And then she's asked if she ever saw him in extreme situations, extreme trading situations. Caroline saying yes. And then Mark Cohen brings up that he stepped away from the job, stopped coming to the office at all, and resigned August 2022. And that then she was the sole CEO up until November 2022. And Caroline saying yes. And then funny enough, they ask her if Sam Bankman-Fried had ever suggested a co-CEO so that she has help. Caroline Ellison saying yes, that Sam did suggest having a co-CEO, someone named Ben Z, but that she thought it was a better idea for her to be the sole CEO. Asking how many employees she had at the time, she said 30. And on top of that, she also said that she did the HR, the human resources at Alameda. It's pretty bizarre for someone running the whole hedge fund, the whole barbecue. It seems bizarre. She was asked, what was the security at Alameda? Caroline saying, keeping our API keys secured. She was asked if Alameda had ever been hacked. She said yes. Asked if she did accounting. She said yes. Asked if she dealt with Voyager and Genesis. Voyager, another crypto exchange. Genesis, crypto lending. Ellison saying yes, yes, and others. When asked if Alameda was a hedge fund, she responded that she referred to it as a trading firm. And Mark Cohen here is making a lot of really good points. She's handling too much stuff. Accounting, HR, borrowing, lending, looking over 30 employees. I mean, it's just a bit much, you know? So of course he goes on to ask, do you think the structure was appropriate? Having third-party lenders. She said, I had an advantage over being a hedge fund and having investors. That she had advantages over being a hedge fund. Mark Cohen, sharp guy, he says, do you know how Jane Street got their capital? Objected, sustained, so she can't answer. So he asked, what could Alameda do with its loans? Did the lenders restrict the business purposes? She said no. A loan agreement was shown with Voyager that she signed. She was asked if she knew someone named Ramnik Arora. She said yes. I heard him making calls to investors that FTX was selling shares. When asked if she prepared the materials to investors, she said no. When asked what the semester system was, she said it was the bonus system that they had set up. Apparently, bonuses twice a year. Not too shabby. Asked if she got 20 million in 2021, she said yes, but that went down dramatically, and in 2022, she said she only got about 3 million for the first half of 22. 20 million in 21 and 3 in 22. Pretty interesting there. Then Mark Cohen brought up the relationship, asking if they started sleeping together, when the prosecutors actually interrupted and the judge, Judge Kaplan, directed Sam's lawyer to move on. I wonder if Sam was shaking his head then. Were there communication problems with her saying she avoided the one-on-one meetings with him, but that they still used Signal? So they avoided one-on-one meetings, but then she says that they lived in the same apartment. So they still talked in person. Then Cohen brings up an interview by the prosecutors on April the 3rd. Cohen brings up a document showing it to Caroline Ellison, and the jury's not allowed to look at it. She's asked to read something to herself, with Mark Cohen asking her if her memory is refreshed. She said no. Then she's asked how many FBI agents showed up to her parents' house. She said about 4 to 5. Asked who was in the house, and Caroline said she was and her boyfriend. The girl moves fast. See guys, there's people out there that are into Caroline Ellison. Somebody out there for everyone. Anyway, so her boyfriend was there and her mom's house cleaner who came once in a while. Cohen said they had a warrant and seized 3 computers, with Caroline saying one of my mother's. Mark Cohen asked Caroline Ellison if they seized a computer belonging to her boyfriend. Ooh, interesting. I see where this is going. Objection, but Judge Kaplan allows the question. Did your boyfriend work at Alameda Research? Caroline said yes. See where this is going? Mark Cohen now, sharp guy, he says, you engaged counsel who met with the prosecutors to get a deal, a cooperation deal. Sneaky, sneaky. She said yes, that she engaged counsel, meaning she got herself a bunch of lawyers who met with the prosecutors, and they all came up with a deal against, of course, testifying against Scam Sam. Asked if she pled guilty on December the 19th. She says she does not remember, but yes, it was around that time, mid-December. Asked Caroline, you pled guilty to fraud on investors, but had no contact with investors herself. Objection sustained. Why would that be sustained? It seems really, really important. Makes no sense why that would be sustained, why they wouldn't let her answer. You met with them January 3rd, 24th, March, April, and so forth. When did you last meet? When did you last meet with them? She said Monday. So this Monday was the very last time that she herself, her lawyers, met with the prosecutor team to discuss her plea agreement, her cooperation against Sam. Alrighty, then she's asked, Alameda, as a customer of FTX, were there terms of service? Caroline said yes. Did you discuss them with anyone? She said yes. Then Mark Cohen asked, have you heard the term the Chinese wall? She said yes. Information barriers. Are there any Chinese walls discussed with FTX? She said yes. Whether we should have separate Slack workspaces. Mark Cohen, have you heard of a haircut? She says yes. Marking down assets to less than their market value, saying that liquidity does factor in. Okay, so Mark Cohen is trying to make a point here. Did Genesis or Voyager use haircuts with regard to FTT? She doesn't seem to know. When asked what the basis of all of her concerns regarding the structure of Alameda, Caroline's saying the basis was basically Alameda taking and using FTX customer funds. Asked if she shared these concerns with anyone other than Sam. She said yes, Nishad and Gary Wang. Asked if she considered resigning. She said yes, but never did. I guess even her low pay was still big enough to keep her going, right? She did add that Sam wouldn't let her quit when she wanted to, elaborating that he said she couldn't, that she was too important to Alameda, and that she should stay at Alameda. She was shown a document by Sam's lawyer, Mark Cohen, and asked if it helped her recollection, her memory. She said yes, that it refreshed her memory, that she had written something where she said that Sam might not have known. Interesting. They move on to the summer of 2021. She's shown something, a spreadsheet apparently. Do you recall ever trying to do a calculation in September of 2022? What the cost would be of not hedging? She said yes, she calculated we should sell several $billion to hedge, but it was uncertain. Asked what was UST, she said an algorithmic coin tied to Luna. Asked when Luna went down, did UST go down? She said yes, they lost $100 million. Asked for her conclusion on that loss by Alameda concerning Luna, she thought it was a bad idea, of course. They move on to the new topic concerning the bug that she realized was in place. This being back in May of 2022. When asked if she had a Slack communication with Gary or Nishad about the bug and if Sam was involved in those communications. She said no, she could not recall if she kept Sam out of those communications. Okay, then Mark Cohen brings up Alameda not having any liquid assets to pay during the period of recalls, those loans, with Caroline saying this all happened in November. The loans were repaid by drawing on Alameda's line of credit. Is that correct? She said yes. Asked how much was repaid in summer of 2022, she said somewhere between $5 and $10 billion, with June being $5 billion alone. Pretty nuts. So they move on to the balance sheets with the 7 alternatives that she discussed with Sam. Caroline now saying she only discussed some of those balance sheets, some of those alternatives with Sam. Asked about what her problem was with Alameda and the loans, she said it might look like Alameda was funneling money to the FTX executives. Now they move on to Modulo. So it seems they're discussing possible investments that are laid out on these balance sheets. She's asked what about Modulo? She thought it didn't make any sense for FTX to invest in them. Asked who was Modulo, she said Lily Wang and Duncan. Mark Cohen, and then Mark Cohen asking, didn't you want to crush them? And Caroline saying, yes, I remember having feelings like that. Whoa. Asked about the tweet she put out November the 6th, that Alameda had returned most of its loans. Is that true? She said, not really. We'd return third-party loans by taking out more loans from FTX. Asked about the tweet from ZZ about Binance liquidating all FTT. Did you reply? She said yes. And I had to go dig around for the tweet. Here it is. She said yes, Alameda would happily buy FTT at 22. Asked if she discussed his motivation, CZ's motivation. She said yes. Then they move on to an all-hands meeting. Asked where she was, she said in Hong Kong. Asked if she was trying to get the employees to stay put, and to stay with FTX, and to stay with the company. She said no. She said she was trying to help them follow their best interests. Interesting there. Mark Cohen asking, what did Sam say? She said Sam would start a new company. No surprise there. Mark Cohen asking, did you tell the employees about wrongdoings? Whoa. With Caroline saying yes. You see where this is going, right? Interesting. So now the prosecutor gets to ask Caroline a few more questions. Prosecutor asking, were you asked who was involved in the wrongdoings? Caroline said yes. She said she was involved, Gary Wang, Sam Bankman, but she also said that the decision to repay loans with customer money was strictly Sam's. Asked why she felt good about the meeting, the all hands-on meeting. She said she felt good because she was being honest. Asked by the prosecutors, why did you disclose the wrongdoings now at this time? Caroline saying, we've already failed, so she could. Prosecutors asking, did you request or authorize yourself the line of credit for Alameda? She said no. In your view, did FTX collapse due to the tweet from ZZ? She said it contributed, but the main reason was Alameda was already borrowing from FTX, and of course it couldn't repay the roughly $10 billion. Then they went on to play the clips from the all-hands meeting, with the prosecutor saying Caroline said she would always defer to Sam, and that here, Mr. Bankman was aware she was going to have this meeting. He did not seek to remove her as CEO. Instead, he provided input. They said that Caroline was his agent. And then that was it. That was it for Caroline Ellison, cross-examination, her recross. Pretty interesting. They did make a couple of good points where Caroline looks a little shady. Her boyfriend working at Alameda, they were both coincidentally at the house getting raided by the FBI with warrants. Their computers are taken. Both their computers are taken. So I don't know. It's interesting. She probably contacted her parents, and I'm sure they directed her to basically get in contact with the lawyers that then got in contact with the prosecutors that then cut a deal to save, or at least to try to help and save Caroline. But I gotta say, Sam's case is looking really bad for him. Really bad. Cointelegraph has a trial calendar going well into November. So pretty interesting. It's gonna last a little longer. And remember, Sam's defense team said they would take around a week to 10 days. All right, guys, well, always good spending time with you. Thanks for watching. Smash the like if you haven't. Please do subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you in the next one.